That's right. Another Thursday night means another Thursday night showdown. This one doesn't look good. This looks gross. It looks terrible. But we're gonna try and get through it. Jason, I guess just real quick advice for the people. But how do you play kind of what is a pretty disgusting slate like this one?
First of all, you ask around and see what other people are doing right now. And I talked to our guy Steve, Capper Steve from Sharp, and he already texted me 4 bets we're on. So let's get that out of the way. I don't do an analysis on his picks. I don't question his picks. I just say, okay, thank you. Let's put him in. So he's on UNLV +6. He's on the Broncos +2.5, which we can talk about that one for sure. Then he's also on 2 hockey games, the Avalanche and the Flames. So put those bets in, trail this guy. I told John off air, what this guy does, at the Sharp app, giving away free plays. Download the app. It's completely free. You can check line movement on every single book with one click of the button, all free, like I said, and follow his picks. Between him and Statsational, free bets of the day are crushing. I got friends texting me that I haven't seen since like high school or college. Like, who are these people? Where did you find these people? They just keep on printing money. Like, people like, I got to send this guy a gift basket. Like, he's been winning so much. So definitely check that out. We all play DFS, but sports betting, if you're in a legal state, pretty simple stuff. You trail people who are really good. You can find out real quick if they're winning or they're losing, and these guys are winning. So definitely check that out. As far as NFL goes, we got an NBA slate locking at 7:30.
Yes, we do.
I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, this game is so gross. From like a watching perspective, I don't even know who I want to watch. I might actually turn on some Luka action instead of this, at least early on. But look, Broncos, we're on the Broncos. We're taking the Broncos. We're taking the points. If you got it early in the week, our guy Stoweby mentioned it I think 3 or 4 days ago. Look, like everybody in Cleveland might be out. Take the 4.5 points. It's down to 2.5, 1.5 at spots. We locked it in at 4.5, 3.5. We have people locking in around 3. We're still confident at 2.5. So the Broncos is the right play as far as, betting goes. And with that being said, you can now build the story for Showdown. I think from a DFS perspective, Showdowns, you should really, really take a look at Vegas and do your own projections. Even though the Broncos are currently dogs in this game, my research and our team says they're going to be winning this game, or it's going to be really close. Even if they don't win, they'll still cover. I think they win out right here. So that makes me want to, go to the offensive side of Denver a little bit more. Look, Courtland Sutton looks like a great play. I think he's probably the safest play. The running backs as well. We got to factor those guys in. And the defense will be in play too. So I think Denver's defense, you got backups at every position pretty much. Outside of tight end, you got backups at wide receiver, running back, and the quarterback with Keenum going. So I think defense is definitely in play as well, man.
Yeah, defenses could absolutely be in play. And I would look a little bit more towards the Broncos defense. And I know that's maybe going a little bit too much, putting our chips in the table too much on the Broncos defense, but just the Broncos team in general. But the reason why I do like it, like Case Keenum, I think Case Keenum's going to have some problems here. And I know there's not too much of a drop-off from what Baker Mayfield's doing to what Case Keenum likely... Right, and Baker's been dealing with injuries pretty much since the start of the season. So obviously, I know there's not going to be much, but still, it's Case Keenum making his first start in a while. And also, I know he's getting Landry back, but this team still is not going to be able to pass the ball very well because Odell Beckham, who is going through warm-ups, might play, still is going to be injured. He's not going to be 100%. And plus, they are down.
He's bad at football, too. So
right. Plus, he could just be bad at football right now. Seriously, he really just could be at this point not the player we're used to. And this running game isn't going to be what it is. At some point, we can tell ourselves, yes, the Browns still do have a good offensive line, and they are going to try and run the ball, which I think you do have to have at least Jon Jansen or Felton in your lineups. I'm not going both. I'm not going to subscribe to the, one guy's going to get the early down and one guy's going to get the pass catching. I just think you have to go with one. And with the way the Browns offense is, I think it's going to be Johnson because I think they're going to hand the ball off a lot more than try and go in a bunch of passing situations. But, it's just that they're down two of their top running backs in Chubb and Kareem Hunt, which is the entire lifeline of this offense. So I don't expect it to move a lot. I think you're going to see sacks. I think you're going to see turnovers, a little bit of messiness from the Browns. I do like the call of the Broncos. Now, the other thing on the other side of that, what gets really hard is just this is going to be a low scoring game in general, which is why this makes it really tough. It's just who do you want between Sutton or Fant? Because again, I don't think there's going to be a ton of production. So who do you want between the two? Because there's only one. And choose between Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Like, I think those are where really the tough questions come in, because those four guys are likely the scorers for the Broncos. I don't think you can really, like, Tim Patrick's been fine, but as you've seen, not a lot of touchdown production. A lot of the touchdown production does come from Sutton and Noah Fant or the running backs. So I think that's where you kind of have to make the tougher decisions here. It's just where at the top of the Broncos, lineup and offensive production are you going with?
Broncos, at the top of the Broncos, I'm going to probably lean on Courtland Sutton. I think he's the guy that I want in first. If I don't go with him, it's at the end of the day, it's a coin flip for Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Really, they project out. Look, I'm looking at our optimizer right now at windailysports.com. They are both projected within 0.1 points of each other. Williams 10.36, Melvin Gordon 10.26. They're at pretty much the same price tag. What I would suggest doing is in showdowns, it is really tough, being honest with everybody, to win showdowns. It's not an easy thing to do. And it becomes almost impossible with one lineup because everybody else is entering 150 of these lineups. So they have every combination. It's so top heavy to pay. You need a second or a third or a fourth or a fifth lineup to really go at these tournaments. So what I would suggest to do is equal out your shares of Williams and Gordon. You don't want to go all in on one or all in the other. You equal it out. They're pretty much the same exact player on paper. Every projection model, every lineup optimizer should have them around the same. So, look, the Broncos are most likely going to be ahead in this game. You want to go there. But, John, I want to ask you a question. When you're not watching wrestling or playing fantasy, whatever.
Final Fantasy. Got to get that right. One of the greatest video game franchises of all time.
I know you do watch college football. I know a guy named Josh Kelly. He was running back out there. But who's this guy, John Kelly? Because he's the third man after Johnson and Felton. And when you're building out these showdown lineups, you really got to look at these close to minimum salary type of players because they open up everything. I don't know, in this type of slate, we're not paying up for a lot of guys. A lot of these guys are pretty bad.
Yes, that's the weird thing about this one.
You don't really need so much, but we're not like 1,000% sure that the two guys in front of this dude is going to be, blowing doors off here. So, look, he's on the active roster from the practice squad here. Do you know anything more about this guy, John Kelly? What do you know about him?
Don't know too much. I do know he played at Tennessee. Like, I know I've heard of him before, and he's played, as you could see, he's played with the Rams, and I know he actually did get playing time when he was with the Rams. Not much. It just happened like it was a game like this where kind of just out of necessity needed to play him, but not too much involvement from John Kelly. I would say no. Like, to be honest, with the fact that the Broncos are already depleted at wide receiver, a lot of their back end guys are depleted, and a lot of the top end production is going to be depleted, I think, from the Cleveland Browns as well. I don't think you can play Odell Beckham Jr. in this one. Like, the only way I'd get a little bit different and a little bit lower is maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones has gotten involved a lot more in the offense. He had 5 targets, 2 touchdowns. I know that's tough to chase and tough to do again, but I think Odell Beckham is likely going to be limited, and not only limited, he could certainly leave this game again with an injury. He's just not been healthy. He's not been a favorite target. So I imagine still a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be involved a lot more. Basically, with this Browns offense, Kelly could get involved at 300, but it's not going to be enough that I would consider him. And again, I don't think you have to dig too deep because I don't think you have to play Case Keenum. I don't think you have to play Teddy Bridgewater, even though I do have him in there.
They're not expensive either. That's the thing. Like, you can play them, you can not play them. They're not expensive. I want to ask you about another guy because I'm still looking at the optimizer here. John Brown has found his way, up from the practice squad there too. So he's another guy that's $200 between Kelly, Deontay Spencer, John Brown, all $200. Harrison Bryant, if they slide him out and he goes out there and grabs some balls, you never know. It's these $200 guys that could sway things here. Keep an eye on them. I'll get a little bit of exposure to all of them just in case one of them hits. The odds of like two of these guys hitting is near impossible, but the optimizer has each of them kind of ranked for 2 or 3 points. When those 2 or 3 points end up falling into the end zone, now you have a big difference. So take a share, at Kelly, Spencer, Brown, and Bryant if you're making more than 3, 5, 10 lineups.
I don't think you have to do it. I don't think you have to do it for salary relief or anything. I don't think, again, I'm a big T. You don't have to play any of the 200, 300 guys today because your value is going to come in playing Dearness Johnson, probably in the captain or one of the other Cleveland guys in the captain or somebody else because it's not going to be a quarterback. You don't have to pay up for a quarterback. All of that. So I'm not scraping the bottom of the barrel, but the only reason I would get, I think you're right, maybe a share or two of these guys, because especially with the Cleveland Browns running backs, we don't necessarily know if Johnson and Felton are going to take that heavy of the workload. If a guy like John Kelly is going to get involved a little bit more than we think, and he maybe gets goal line carries that we don't expect, something like that, I think you could throw a dart there because of that reasoning. I wouldn't do it, though, for salary relief. There's already plenty of options there to get salary relief all over this game with the Browns. And I'm up heavy, as you can see on Denver. Like, I don't think it's worth going to John Brown even a little bit because Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant just are going to generate so much of the target share their way. I don't see this going. The only other guy that really they go down to, and let's see if I can find his name on there. Kendall Hinton, they go to a little bit. Again, like he's been getting a little bit more targets since he's been getting more involved in the offense. But that's, again, you're not seeing many touchdowns. You're not seeing many yards. He's a guy who's going to get a few targets each game that aren't going to be deep down the field. Reminds me a lot of Greg Ward. Again, a quarterback from college too, who's going to come in, maybe not overly athletic, but just really smart. And he's got good enough hands. Rashard Higgins, another guy if you want to get a little different, but as you've seen, the targets have kind of gone away because I think Donovan People-Jones has been taking over those. But yeah, that's honestly, there's not too much that I'd really pay down for or try and get cute with. Really, I would just mix and match a lot of, especially the Browns running backs with Felton and Dearness Johnson. That's probably what I'd be doing a lot here. And especially with Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, just finding those combinations and getting a little different. I don't think this one's going to be completely at all any of these guys in the bottom.
See, the thing is, which is, you play this game 9 out of 10 times it plays out that way. That's you just
right. You got to play for the one time. That's why. Yeah,
right now it's so easy to build a lineup. Like while you were talking about not playing these $200 guys, it is so easy. You can slide anybody you want in the captain and slide in Johnson, and all you got to do from there is pick your favorite players, and you pretty much have a lineup. Like it's not tough at all. So that's going to be. What that's going to do, though, is going to make a lot of these lineups generic, and everybody's going to have the same copycats of each other. Definitely leave some salary. I build a lineup right now with $1,200 left over. I think the Broncos defense is in play. McManus is in play too. So both these guys are cheap as well, where people sleep on the kickers. With these kickers in a lower scoring game.
Brandon McManus, certainly. He's the for sure one. That's automatic. So Brandon McManus, I think could be.
Talking about
if it's low scoring and no really great red zone opportunities, absolutely.
Talking about automatic, I went on Twitter today and I posted the Larry David interview. Have you caught that yet?
It is hilarious. I caught the beginning of it. Yes,
he's talking about he basically. I'll ruin it for everybody so they actually go watch it because he's my favorite dude to watch. He basically, they proposed that he would be, Rich Eisen proposed that he can be the NFL commissioner. What would he do first? He's like, get rid of the field goal post. And he goes on to a whole rant how it's so stupid that people who are kicking a ball, who have no thought of the game, they're not real athletes.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean. They don't do anything. But
they don't do anything, and you can win or lose a game by their leg by like a half of an inch. And he's like, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. It kind of makes sense. It does make a lot of sense. Just putting somebody on a field of a game that 99% of the time they do nothing and they just come out the end and they decide the game, win and loss. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, here's a question I got from Chris. We got from Chris that one if you were, I guess Chris was paying attention to what I was kind of doing there. I would love to get maybe Njoku and Hooper involved. I think Njoku would be the one, but really you're guessing which tight end between Njoku and Hooper, because one thing we know about rookie quarterback or quarterbacks that are coming in, backup quarterback, stuff like that, especially here in the circumstance of Case Keenum, backup quarterback coming in, right, going to be going to them for a safety blanket. I could see Njoku getting involved. He's the one who's been involved more, and he's the one that has that, because Hooper doesn't really have a floor. He has a safe target share, but he doesn't have a floor because he doesn't get a lot of yards. But the last game you see here, 2 targets, 6 yards. Like, Njoku can have that big game. It just doesn't happen often. And it happened in a game where they scored 42 points. So they were getting everybody involved. I'm very cautious about Njoku. Really, I like Jarvis Landry if you go on the Brown side. I actually think he's somewhat safe to play. But yeah, I'd look if anywhere, I'd actually go Njoku, and I'm starting to talk myself and think myself into it that Njoku could be a little bit of a different play here that you can go with, that you can actually like.
Yeah, basically on this slate, I think you have to lock Sutton and you got to lock Landry. You can lock both these guys, whether in the captain spot or not the captain spot, and then pick one of the Cleveland running backs. Lean Dearness Johnson as number 1. If you want to get cute, you go Felton. That's where you should probably start your builds. That's a very nice, easy way to build a lineup. If you go with Landry, you have more room to play with, and I think Landry runs a lot of the routes similar, not, I wouldn't say the same as a tight end, but quick, get rid of the ball type stuff. And I think Keenan will definitely find the guy who's a veteran involved in his offense. So I think Landry and Sutton and Fant, really solid options. The 2 running backs for Cleveland up top, lean on Johnson, get equal shares of Williams and Gordon. It's a smart move. For every 3 shares or 2 shares, 3 shares you get of Dearness Johnson, play Felton 1/3 of it, because he can have he can mirror that as well. So I would go 50-50 on Gordon Williams. I would go for every 2 shares of Ernest Johnson, get 1 share of Felton. Probably the same thing if you're going to the tight ends. Go 2 shares of Hooper for every 1 of Njoku. Sutton and Fant should be almost equally played. They're the 1-2 options from Denver. You can sprinkle in some Tim Patrick, and like John said, and like Big T said, you really don't need to go to these 200 guys, but if you want to sprinkle in a wide receiver for Denver, you can sprinkle them in. If you want to take a shot on John Kelly, he's in Player Optimizer, has him. Not because the optimizer and the numbers say he's going to go out there and score 2 touchdowns. No, just simply he's going to pay off that $200 lineup and allow you to pay up everywhere you want to. But it's not like I'm going to rush to go get Case Keenum.
We got a question here about Donovan Peoples-Jones. I still think now Odell Beckham is playing. Obviously, Jarvis Landry just got activated. He's playing. So it gets a little bit more crowded. And I understand that it would be maybe cautious of him getting some of the targets taken away from him, because as you've seen, pretty solid target share, 5 targets in his last game a couple weeks ago against the Chargers, 6. And he's a big play guy, as you could see there, 1 catch, and he can certainly obviously stretch the field with just 1 play. But I think he's earned enough, trust with Kevin Stefanski. And as we've seen, like, just because Odell Beckham is playing, I don't think that necessarily means he gets involved. Kevin Stefanski, and I guess it maybe
is Odell.
Odell's confirmed. Yeah, he just got confirmed to play. So I think the thing about Odell is you can look at it in a couple ways, that like either it's a Baker problem or it is a Kevin Stefanski problem. Either way, he's never really gotten involved with Cleveland at all. There was 1 game against Dallas he really did. That's about it, though. Like, I just don't think the Odell Beckham thing's working, and I don't know how that's going to get resolved, but it's just not working. So Landry's fine to me, but the other guy, I think now people might actually, their ownership percentage might go down because of Odell. I actually still like Donovan Peoples-Jones in this game. He's very clearly, I think, earned the healthiest
of them. Yeah, he's healthy.
And he's the healthiest.
Yes. He's played the best of them all so far to start the season. Small sample size. He has the talent. There's so many new variables to really rate out, Peoples-Jones on a showdown slate with a new quarterback, with Odell hobbling in when, the early reports was uphill battle. Uphill battle turns to playing. Landry's coming off, not playing. Case Keenum in. 2 new running backs. There's a lot of question marks here. So, like, yes, People Jones will probably come in lower owned now than he ever would have with both these guys questionable, leading up to this game. So now people are going to come off him even more. So he's definitely in play. I don't have him in my first lineup that I build. I probably still prioritize Landry.
Yep.
I would too.
A
little bit over Peoples Jones, but Odell, he's not interesting.
It's just right. It's not working. Like they're not interested in getting him.
If you're multi-entering though, you don't take him out of your player pool at all. Like you don't go to take Odell out. You add him back in now that he's playing, and if you're making 150 lineups, I probably have 5 or 10 Odell lineups because nobody else wants to play him either, and he still, quote unquote, has talent.
Yeah.
He can still break one at the same time. So you're making 150, you don't take him out of your player pool. You keep him in your player pool, but I wouldn't load up on him, over the guys that we mentioned.
Yep. All right. That's going to wrap things up here at windailysports.com. WDS.1/live week. You can use that for a 1 week free trial. Use the optimizer as Jason was just using there. We use it. Everybody on the staff uses it, including those in the Discord as well. And those signed up to Win Daily Sports. So WDS.1/live week. Link in the description below. Also, join for the NFL free roll contest we have going on this weekend on Draftkings. Either you go to Draftkings, just search Win Daily. You can find it, or WDS.1/Draftkings as well. You can just put that link in. It'll take you right to the contest. That is it for us. We'll be back for more tomorrow here